I'm Chewy. Hello. I'm a developer advocate for Google. We're kind of a little bit understaffed in Europe, so I work on a bunch of different products. I've been working on some Chrome stuff and some social stuff. But because I get a broad experience to a bunch of different technologies, I know a little bit about driving traffic to websites. So I'm going to discuss some different concepts and some different products which can help just drive more users to your website. I'm doing another talk at 2 that talks about what to do once you get your users on your website. You might think that's really obvious, but you'd be amazed how many people have no idea. We've got users, what do we do? So if you want to learn how to do that, come along afterwards. But without further ado, let's get going. Oh, one other thing. I speak really quickly. I know that English probably isn't most of your first languages. If I start going too quickly, just throw something at me. That'll be a good guide for me to slow down, okay? Or just throw hand in the air or whatever. Just nothing too hard. We're going to cover these things here. I'm probably going to skip through them a little quicker because we're already 15 minutes overdue, and I want to make sure we finish with enough time for the next session. But I'll be wandering around, so if you've got any further questions or would like to know more about any of these things, please feel free to just grab me in the corridor and ask more details. But first, before we look at any of this, there's one thing that you have to do with every website you ever build, and that's measure. And then measure some more, and then measure some more. I use Google Analytics. You don't have to. Any analytics package will do. But if you're not measuring the traffic to your website, if you don't understand who your users are and where they come from, then this whole talk is going to be pointless because you can work really hard to drive a source of traffic, but you have no idea if it's effective or not. With Google Analytics, you'll see, let's go to google.com/analytics. In fact, I've already got it open here. This is my website. You see, it's my blog. Me and my mum read it. Sometimes on some days we both read it. Yeah, I know. No, this is actually referring sites rather than visitors, but the visitors numbers are just about as depressing. But the point is, there are lots of different traffic sources that can drive traffic to your website. And you'll see analytics breaks them down. You've got direct traffic, you've got referring sites, and you've got search engines. Now, search engines is kind of interesting because you can see which search engines are driving the traffic. In this case, it's largely Google. You can click on Google, and then you'll get a breakdown of the keywords that were used. And you can see, if you saw my keynote, you could see I like Brutal Legend. I've done a couple of posts. I got an Android phone, and I had a Nokia. I didn't know how to transfer data. So I wrote a little blog post about it. So people will stumble across finding different keywords. There's also referring sites. And these are sites out there which link to my site. You know, someone's read one of my posts, and they think that one of them's interesting. You'll see androidyani.com links to my Android SD card post. So by learning who's referring to you, by who's linking to you, you can start to deliver or create more content that's useful to those users. And perhaps start to tailor the content that they're linking to. You know, if I know that people are linking from a particular article, I can go back to that blog site, see what they've written, and work out how to contextually make that blog post more useful for people arriving directly from that website. So have a look at analytics. Have a look at it every day. Understand where your traffic's coming from. Understand what you need to optimize. Also, before we get started, create compelling and original content. Now, Marcel is going to be doing a talk later on search. There's Marcel. Put your hand up, Marcel. Woo. He's on next. So I'm going to talk a little bit about search, but not too much because he's the man. But when you're thinking about writing content for the web, think about a niche. If you're about to go into writing a website about Xbox games, be aware there's a lot of competition already out there. You know, PS3, travel, another really, hefty competition area. Try and think about an area that's more of a niche, that there aren't so many people talking about this. You know, if I want to rank for Xbox games, I'm going to have to compete against nearly 60 million other sites, or at least 60 million other pages. That's a pretty hard task, you know, even for someone as highly skilled as me at writing about Brutal Legend and getting 20 visitors to my site a month. It's going to be really, really tough to break into that. So unless you are an expert, unless you really feel that you've got something new to add, think about creating content in a niche or a side area. Let's have a look at search. This is my favorite search for goats. Now, interestingly, or perhaps not, I translated goat in Czech, and it's koza. And I did a search for koza on google.cz, and some pretty rude things came up. So I don't know if it means two different things. But I do quite like this picture here. It's pretty funny. But yeah, if you scroll down, it starts to get pretty rude. So we'll stick with UK search. And you'll see that there's a bunch of different things that appear on this web page. Fainting goats, if you haven't seen this video, go watch it. Brilliant. Goats fall over and freeze. There's some news, because there's a film coming out about the men who stare at goats. Apparently there was a military project where they stared at goats. There's a bunch of different stuff, image, videos, results, and subscribed links, which we're going to talk about a bit more in a minute. But the point is, there's lots of different information there that you might want to read. But before we look at that in more detail, let's look at the time that it takes to load this page. Now, I think one of the reasons people come to Google so often is that it's fast. The results come up quickly. And we do a lot of testing, optimization. We're always investing time and money in trying to get our results to return as quickly as possible. But that's also true of your website. Now, I'm not saying every page you have should load in under a second. That's not necessary. But I'm sure we've all clicked on a search result, and we've been waiting for it to load. And after 4, 5, 10 seconds, if you're my mum, after a minute, you'll get bored, and you'll hit stop, and you'll click on the next search result down. Now, it seems to skew, generally the younger you are, the less time you want to wait. So if you're building a site that's attractive to kids, that thing needs to load instantly. Otherwise, they're gone. They click, oh, it hasn't loaded, right, next result. So always think about making the content on your site load as quickly as possible. Now, these are the natural search results on the left. Again, you guys probably know this, but I just want to make sure everyone's baselined. You can't pay Google any money to change the order of these results. This is based purely on the algorithm. Marcel's going to talk more about exactly how that works. The ones on the right, these are the sponsored ads. There weren't that many sponsored ads for goats, so I had to fall back on computer games. But you'll see this AdWords is where you can actually pay. And there's a formula that's pretty straightforward. I'm not here to kind of sell AdWords to you, but lots of people ask about it, so I figured I'd drop it in. AdWords are ranked by a bunch of different things. First is the keyword. You choose the keyword you want to bid on. Then you decide how much you want to pay for a click. And then we use something called the quality score. And the quality score is a combination of a bunch of different things. Primarily, it's things like the click-through rate and the relevance of the ad to the query. What this means is if you want to bid on the keyword computer games and your advert is for fishing supplies, it's not going to do so well. People aren't going to be looking for fishing supplies generally when they're looking for computer games, I guess, unless they're looking for the Sega Bat fishing thing for the Nintendo Wii, but it's a different story. The point is, you want to make your ads as relevant as possible. And here's how this breaks down. It means that actually, you don't necessarily have to pay as much as you think to get the top result. Your quality score, here's a couple of ads that I've just made up. And these numbers are, again, made up for internal purposes. But imagine that you want to bid 100 cents on your first ad, and it's got a quality score of 1 because it's very relevant, it gets a lot of clicks. We multiply those two together and you get a value ad rank of 1. The second ad, you're prepared to bid $2, 200 cents. But the quality score is a lot worse. Maybe it doesn't get clicks, maybe the keywords are really bad, maybe it's not relevant. So what we do is multiply 0.25 by 200 and we get an ad rank of 0.5. That means even though you're prepared to pay twice as much as the guy who's paying $1 at the top, you're still not going to outrank him because your ad sucks. So it's really important to optimize, to test, to try out different combinations to see what works for you. Back to regular search, there's a couple of things I want to say, just in case you can't make the next session. There's two, oh, hello.
One question to the quality score.
Yeah.
Is there a way to get the quality score as a number?
No. So the question was, can you get the quality score as a number? No, you can't, I'm afraid. I mean, we're always testing different things to make up what the quality score should be. You'll get I think we give you like a rough guide, low, medium, yeah, okay, 0 to 10, there we go. But it's not kind of more detailed than that. It's like PageRank that we surface. We give you a number between 0 and 10, but internally, it's a lot more complicated. So you'll get an indication. But there are two main things for natural search ranking. The first is relevance, and the second is importance. Now, this probably sounds really obvious, but I deal with a lot of large companies, and you'd be amazed how many get it wrong all the time. Importance is query independent. This is the number of links broadly that come into your website. And they're independent links, so people who like your website, they link to it. You know, like my Android example earlier, someone's found my article, they've said, hey, this is a great, well, hopefully they've said it's great, it's Italian, I don't understand. But this is a great example of how to transfer data, and they've put a link up to my website. And that's a vote from someone completely independent. Now, the second most important thing is the relevance to the query. This means that whatever people type into the search engine, that word needs to be on your page. Now, this might not translate very well, but I dealt with a corporate recently who create boxes for packaging, you know, just for sending stuff in the post. On their website, they said, the premier solution for packaging. right? Which, as an Englishman, I kind of understand what they mean. It's a bit, but I get that they make boxes. What they don't say anywhere on their website is the word box. So when someone types box into Google, their site doesn't show. And they're like, why don't we return for boxes? Well, you haven't written it on your website. And it really is that simple. Whenever you're putting words on your website, think whether or not someone would search for them. It's probably not such an issue here. It looks like we're all more a bit developer-y. But if you've got a marketing guy or a brand guy whispering in your ear saying we should have these words, you know, mission statement, no, wrong, get rid of them. Maybe have them on a separate page. Maybe, you know, sum up your corporate mottos there. But think about the content on pages and think whether or not it's going to be useful to users. If it's not, don't include it. There's also a bunch of other stuff that we roll in. You know, the query, so what your intent is, what your language is, where you're searching from. We'll have a look at your search history and your web history if you're opted into that. And also things like seasonality and time. You know, if you search for last-minute Christmas present in July, you're going to get very different results than if you search in December. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on behind it, but I don't want to spend too long on that. The next thing, subscribed links. Now this, I think, is actually one of the most powerful features that Google has, but it's also one of the things that people know least about. Can I just ask, who here has heard of subscribed links? One person, and two people, and they both work at Google. See, that's the point. Now, subscribed links are really powerful. You'll see, again, I've searched for the men who stare at goats, and I'll go and do this live. The men who stare at goats. And you'll see within this search result, I'm getting a block here from Rotten Tomatoes. And Rotten Tomatoes is a movie review site. And what they've done is put in a little bit of information with a link to the review. And you'll see here it says manage my subscribed links. And it'll always appear roughly in position 4. Actually, if there are things like one boxes, it kind of skews it a little bit. But primarily, it'll always appear in position 4. They offer you the chance to share your expert knowledge with people who are searching. And you can create two types of subscribed link, basic and dynamic. I'm going to talk about both of these. Basic has a wizard that, much like the custom search engine wizard, is really, really easy to use. So let's click on this. You can see here's a couple that I've already made. But you can see create a new basic subscribed link. The keyword to trigger on, you might want to trigger on video game. And then you just put in some copy that you want to appear. I'm not even going to try and type it quickly in the interests of time. Hit next, and then save it. Hit next and save it. Hit next and save it. The joy of live demos that never work. OK, let's go back to the developer console. So let's pretend that we've got this one instead. You can see that I've set this one up in the past. And here's my subscribed link. When you search for goats, goats are funny, really funny indeed. They eat shoes. And I'm able to inject that information into the search results for anyone who searches for that keyword, as long as they've subscribed to my set of links. Now, for this, not many people are going to subscribe. Not many people need that information every time they search for one thing. But with Rotten Tomatoes, they're able to update, you know, the latest few hundred films that are in release, and they're able to link that back to their website. So it means whenever anyone is doing a search for a film, Rotten Tomatoes appear near the top, and chances are, if you've subscribed to the Rotten Tomatoes link, then you're going to want to click on their site. And it just saves me having to remember the URL. It saves me having to use their search, and it allows them to deliver me really customized results. They're actually using something more complicated than the basic search. They're using one of the dynamic ones. There's three main types. There's TSV, tab-separated values. There's RSS, an atom. And then there's XML, which starts to let you do some pretty crazy stuff. The subscribed links are pretty straightforward. The TSV, it is literally, you can just use Google Spreadsheets, save it as a TSV. And you have item, you have the query term, you have a headline, a link, and then you have a description. And you'll see down here, if I type hello world into Google, it matches hello world here. It uses the URL google.com/co-op, and it uses the text hello world, this is a test. And you see this result rolled in at the bottom. And you can have, I think it's up to 1,000 lines in your tab-separated value. So you can match up to 1,000 different queries, return different results. Pretty straightforward. RSS is similar. You have an RSS feed, and you add these additional lines. And then all you do is point the subscribed link at the RSS feed. So in this case, we've got a regular RSS item. It's got a title, it's got a link, it's got a description, which I cut out so it didn't fill the page up. And then all you do is add co-op keyword. You give that to the subscribed links interface. It'll scan that RSS document and then start to match queries against those terms. So again, I've typed in RSS support, and you'll see this subscribed link injected into the search results. Finally, you've got XML. And this is where it starts to get a bit interesting, because you can actually start to parse the query. You can start to understand what people are typing in. So in this case, what we're going to match is speed limit on highway. And highway is the variable. It's in square brackets to indicate that. And then we've got some of the text that you've seen before. So the response is going to be speed limit for US Route 101, myspeedlimitsite.com, maximum speed limit 65 miles an hour. Now, how do we know what values to match against? We create a data object, and the type here, highway, matches the variable name that you specified here. And then you simply queue up different queries that you want to match against. So for Route 101 in the US, 101, US 101, Highway 101, Route 101, US Route 101. Those are the 5 terms. And you can obviously add more terms if you want. And then exactly as you'd expect, you type in speed limit on 101. The 101 matches one of the queries in the data type that we set up, and bang, speed limit for US Route 101, maximum speed, and myspeedlimitsite.com. So you can start to get pretty complicated. You can actually have standard templates that you're injecting information into. You can also use regular expressions. This example is very contrived, but kind of interesting. The query, RE, is a regular expression, and we want to match decimals, numbers that are between 1 and 3 digits, followed by a dot. It's going to be an IP address, right? Followed by the word subnet. And in the output, we're going to say subnet breakdown for the term that was entered, link to foo.com, and then give the examples of the 2 subnet cases here. And you'll see that if I type in 127.001 subnet, all we're doing is extracting those terms and then injecting them back in here. And you can actually start to get really, really tricksy with this. So you can start to do some really cool manipulation. I'm going to let you guys explore the API on your own because we are already running out of time a little bit. But subscribed links are really powerful. Now the trick is you've got to get people to subscribe to them. So you need to get them to your website first, but then once they're there, you can say, hey, like what you find, want to include this in your results in the future, and just put a button on your website. People then click on that button. They'll be taken to Google to log in if they're not already. Otherwise, they'll be taken to the Manage Their Links page, and that's it. You're done. Now, the beauty of it is you guys host the XML. You host the RSS. You host the TSV. So whenever you want to make changes, you don't have to upload anything to us. You can just change it on your website. And immediately, those changes are visible to all your users. So with Rotten Tomatoes example, they're constantly adding in new films as they're released. And the user doesn't have to do anything to get those links rolled right in. You can also, if you've used iGoogle, you'll know about gadgets. You can insert gadgets directly into the search results too, and you can pass parameters to those gadgets to allow you to do some pretty cool stuff. We're going to talk a bit more about gadgets in a minute, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but when we talk about iGoogle, remember, works for subscribed links too. Changing trends on the internet. I probably should have put this beforehand, but we're seeing a lot of change in the way people browse the web. First of all, you guys hopefully have heard of the BBC, even though it's a UK website. They seem to have pretty good presence. Now, you'll see on this website, I don't know if you can see at the back, so you'll have to trust me, we've got edit and cross marks here. Now, I can click edit, and what it'll let me do is actually change the information that's coming into this widget. I can say, oh, actually, I don't listen to radio. That's so 1990. I can get rid of the radio results, and you'll see that they're gone. Now, it's using a cookie, so I don't even have to sign in here. But the point is, this BBC homepage is now personalized for me. And the next time I come back, it's going to remember my settings. And people are expecting more of a personal experience on websites they visit. You know, when they're out there, when they're browsing, they want to have something that really feels like theirs. We're seeing this with Google search results, too. Now, if we go back to the search result for goats, you'll see these little green arrows that I've added in. Who recognizes these? Who knows what these are about? OK, only a few of you. That's good. So it won't be too boring for the rest of you. Now, this is something called Search Wiki. When you're signed in to Google Search, if you find a result that you really like, let's say dairy goats. Yep, that's exactly the result I was looking for. I click that button. And what it'll do is push it to the top of the results for me. Now, it'll put it below the other ones that I've already promoted. So here you can see now it's the 3rd result down for me. If I don't like it being there, I can hit restore, and it'll put it back to where it was. And if there's a result that I don't like at all, I can hit the cross, and it's gone. And now I will never see this search result for that search again. I can go down to the bottom, and you'll see that I can see my Search Wiki notes, and I can pull sites back in if I've accidentally removed them. But the point is, we're seeing millions of people using these annotations every day. And we're starting to see people use them more like bookmarks. So instead of having a browser and hitting the bookmark button and then going into your bookmarks, people are starting to remember search terms. And the beauty of this is it doesn't matter what computer you're on. You know, you can find a cool site that you want to show to your mother. You search Wiki it, you know, put it to the top for a search result that you'll remember. And then you go around to your mum's house, sign in using your Google ID, and do the same search, and it's just there. You don't have to concern yourself with, you know, having the right browser or having the right computer or being able to access this, that, or the other. There are a lot of plugins that will do this. You know, things like Firefox bookmarks, which will sync between computers and so on. But this is a really, really simple way to use it. And again, I use my mother as an example quite a lot because I think of her as the average internet user. Right? The fact that you guys are here at all means that you're all kind of super users. You're really, really ahead of the curve. My mother is not. But she still uses this. She interacts with this. She likes the fact that she can click things and see them moving on the page. And we see that with users. You know, they like simple features and green things that jump up. So providing easy functionality for people to bookmark and personalize sites can be really beneficial. Now, where am I going with this? Well, iGoogle, primarily. iGoogle is the custom Google homepage. How many people have used iGoogle? OK, good, a few of you. iGoogle has, well, you guys can read, tens of millions of users worldwide. Over half of them are outside the US. Google being Google, we won't give you any more detail than that. But several top developers are actually from one family. Between them, they've built over 500 gadgets. I just thought that was quite fun. This is an example of iGoogle. I'm going to show you my iGoogle page. So let's go back to google.com. As you might have guessed, it's kind of heavily computer game themed. If I click on my homepage, I'm able to take content from a whole bunch of different places. So I've got these silly eyes that follow my mouse around the screen. I've got a Bejeweled game that when I'm not busy at work, which of course is never the case, I can have a game. And I've got feeds from Metacritic. These are just RSS feeds, but these show me computer game reviews. And so if I'm like, ooh, Dragon Age Origins, what's happening there? I can click on that, and it will then go to Metacritic. It'll show me the reviews for this, and I can go, right, OK, I need to pre-order it. That's good. But it just actually feeds me information directly as I need it. And that's what's key, and I can personalize it. I can take the elements that are really important to me. There's a bunch of different things you can do with this. The BBC, again, have built a pretty cool gadget recently using something we call maximize mode. Now, you'll see this little button on the top right of the gadget that looks like a maximize button. This is the BBC UK News homepage. When I click on maximize, what it does is open up and take over the whole of the iGoogle page. And what they're doing is actually putting, just replicating their homepage directly within iGoogle. What this means is that now I don't have to visit the BBC website because I've got everything I need here. And if I want to see, OK, British Airways hit by, wow, that was a lot of money they lost, I can click on that. It'll take me to the British Airways website or to the BBC website to actually read the story in full. If I want to then watch a video and so on, I can do that. But I'm actually able to browse their content from the iGoogle platform, and that's really key. You know, lots of people start their searches every day from iGoogle. On that note, here's a gadget from Amazon. Now, again, you're probably going to be asking why I'm showing you an Amazon gadget. They've actually been really clever. Remember, this is an iGoogle, oh, this is a Google homepage. So generally, people are coming here because they're avid Google users. They're either coming here to engage with a gadget, or they're coming here to do a search. Now, a lot of people search for price comparison. I might say video game price comparison. There we go. And that's going to give me a whole bunch of different sites, you know, Price Grabber, Chow. And I'm going to be able to click through those, search for the game I want, eventually, you know, get to where I'm looking for. But what Amazon have done is quite clever. They're going to allow me to browse these games directly from this gadget. I can see the price. There appears to be, I must have something set up wrongly there, but there's a price, £26.47 for Professor Layton. And I can hit compare prices. And it'll actually show me the different prices from the different retailers. That's got to be a mistake. If it's not, I'm buying it. But you can see that John Lewis, which is a UK retailer, they're the cheapest provider of this game right now. And Amazon.com in the States, well, they're a bit cheaper, but Amazon.co.uk are way down in number 11. Now, you might ask, why are Amazon doing this? Well, the reason they're doing it is because they're actually learning a lot about now what people are searching for. Instead of me coming to iGoogle and doing a search for Professor Layton price comparison, going to Google, ending up on, say, Price Grabber, finding the results on Price Grabber, and only then maybe clicking back to Amazon, that's the point at which Amazon would learn that I was interested in it. This way, they're capturing my data up front. So even if they don't sell the product to me, they still know, one, what people are searching for, and two, which sites are really competing against them. So by providing more information, they're actually getting a huge amount of market data. And as I talked about with analytics, there's nothing more important than data. With data, you can start to understand what people need. And in fact, in this example, if Amazon saw that, 95% of people using this gadget were buying it from John Lewis for £3, they could then match price. And they could say, well, you know what, we're going to sell it for £3 too, and we're going to get people in. But Amazon being Amazon, they'll show, people who bought this also bought this, and try and encourage upsell and deliver real value that way. So it seems counterintuitive at first, but it can be powerful. And actually, if they're really smart, what they'll do is set up affiliate deals with all of these guys. So even when they don't make the sale, they're still making a few pence or a few cents. There's another cool gadget that I want to show you, and this is an Expedia gadget. Now, these are some travel gadgets, kind of evolution over time. The Travelocity one is really simple. If I want to search for a flight from London to New York, I hit enter, and all this is going to do is take me to a Travelocity results page where it tells me that it didn't know what London was because there are too many airports and I've got to pick one, which is kind of frustrating. It would have been nice if it did that in the gadget, but at least it's a shortcut to their search form, all right, which is cool. Booking.com, they have a deal finder, which is pretty powerful. I'll make the font size a little bit bigger. You can see that for $48 or $51 a night, I can get a room in the one-star Latham Hotel. I can see when the deals are available, but it's not until I actually click on this link that I see where the place is. Oh, it's in New York. I didn't want to go to New York. I wanted to go to Prague. That's frustrating. But fortunately, I can type in destination. I can search for Prague here. And unfortunately, then, they're still opening it up in the browser. They're not actually allowing me to interact. And I'm still having to activate those searches. I'm still having to go out and type in the query that I'm looking for. Expedia have done a pretty good job of creating a really customized gadget. Now, gadgets can have settings. And this is built right into the API. It's pretty simple to set up. In this example, they've got different colors for the gadget. And then it's only an American gadget. I apologize for showing it, but I still think it's neat. Let's say I live in San Francisco. I've got a friend who lives in Dallas, and I want to visit him sometime in December. Doesn't really matter when. I just want it to be cheap. I hit save, and then whenever I come back to this web page, let's scroll it. Oh, make it a little bit smaller. Whenever I come back to this web page, you might not be able to see this in the back, but it'll highlight the cheapest day with a yellow box. What this means is all I do is set up the parameters for the search, and it will do the search for me every time I revisit. I'm not having to go to Expedia and do 30 searches for a given month to find what the cheapest flight might be. They're feeding this information directly to me. And let's say my threshold is $300. As soon as it falls below that number, I click this link, and boom, it takes me 3 steps into the booking process. It's already selected the flights because it knows that I want the cheapest. It just needs to confirm the dates. And that's really smart. They're providing real utility within the gadget, and that's what gadgets should be. Sure, you can cut and paste a bit of web content in there like the BBC have done, but actually you can do so much more. And remember, people generally, if they're using iGoogle, chances are they're setting it as their homepage. And so they're going to see this content before they go searching the web. So if you can provide real utility to them, if you can provide functionality that means they're not going to have to search on Google, then they're going to interact with your content more. And hopefully either come to your site and see your ads, make you money that way, or buy something from you if you're actually selling products or services. You can add entire tabs too. This is an example that the London marketing team put together. And it's a bunch of London gadgets. The idea being if you've just moved to London, you can add this tab with one easy click. You click this button, and it'll take you straight to iGoogle, except it won't because I'm not signed in. There we go. Let's go back. Add all London gadgets. I sign in there, and what it's actually done is added this tab down at the bottom. You see I've done this test a couple of times, but down at the bottom here I've got these London links, and it's added these tabs from a bunch of different providers. Now you guys might not recognize a lot of these sites. This is the London Underground, Evening Standard is a local paper, Gumtree is classified ads, and so on. But for someone just moving to London, they're really useful. They help them get a handle on the city. And what's important is that Google hasn't actually provided any of these gadgets. What we did was look through the gadget directory. We spoke to some of these providers, and we said, would you like to create some content? We're just going to put it all together and promote it as a London gadget. So if you guys have a gadget that you want to build yourself, you can supplement that with gadgets from other providers to actually make a rich tab. It's going to be more compelling because people are going to get added functionality. It's going to be easier for you because you're not having to build everything from scratch. But you can add real value. And again, it will help drive users to your site. They come here, they see something that catches their eye. Rather than searching, they've gone straight to your website. That's the Amazon example. That's the Expedia example that we've looked at. Here's a little bit of code. This is what a web page looks like. Hopefully you all know that. even if you're not hardcore developers. HTML tags, top and bottom, head tags where things like title and script tags go, and then body where the actual content that's going to be displayed to the user appears. This is a gadget. You'll see they look pretty similar. Instead of HTML, you have module tags. Instead of head tags, you have module prefs where things like title go. And instead of body, you have content. And you can literally just cut and paste a web page into a gadget spec, and it will work. It's probably going to look funny because you've gone from web page down to little gadget. And if any of your references to images and links are relative rather than absolute, then they're going to look pretty weird, either broken or just send people to unexpected places. But fundamentally, if it works on the web, it works in a gadget. We don't want you guys to have to learn a new technology to be able to deploy gadgets to the web. We want you to be able to use your existing web knowledge and create rich content that people can interact with. So those are gadgets, really simple. There's a whole API. Go to code.google.com to learn more about these. But essentially, if you can write a web page, you can write a gadget. Videos. OK, videos. Everyone likes YouTube videos. I read somewhere it's the second most popular search engine. I don't know that it entirely qualifies as search engine. Hi.
One question. How can one promote gadgets?
Very good question. How can one promote gadgets? So as you saw on, let's go back here, on this website, here we are. This is on google.co.uk, this page here, but it could be on your website, right? Example.com. You can have a button that will allow people to click that will either add a tab of gadgets or an individual gadget as the result of a click. We've actually got a wizard within the documentation that'll let you set that up. We've got little buttons you can use, or you can create your own. I've seen a few corporates have gadget galleries or widget galleries on their website. Personally, I think that's a mistake. I don't think people are going to go to a website, find some great functionality, and then go, ooh, I wonder if there's a gadget, and then go searching the site for a gallery. What they want to see is that button right next to it. Like this feature, add to iGoogle. Make it as easy for them as possible. Don't make users go hunting for this stuff. We also have a gadget directory, but with over, I think, 80,000 gadgets or 40,000 gadgets in there, it's going to be tough to surface. And it's ranked partly on how many are installed. So you want to certainly encourage people to install from your website first. The best way, if you've got great functionality, add that button next to it. And also allow them, to download a PC widget for Vista or for Windows 7 or a Mac gadget, native Mac gadget. Create stuff for NetVibes or Yahoo or indeed OpenSocial. Don't limit it just to iGoogle. Give people a choice.
Is it possible to embed Java applets into gadgets?
So the question, is it possible to embed Java applets into a gadget? Yep. So, literally, it's just a frame. So anything that works on the web. You can have server-side calls. You can have remote authentication. You can do anything you want. There's some pretty cool examples. Hi. Yep.
What caught my attention was that you said, people have the nice news that they don't need to leave your website for VPs. Isn't it exactly the opposite that we want? We want people to use Google to come to our site.
Mm-hmm. So the question is, isn't this the complete opposite of driving traffic to your website? It's a good question. Yeah, it is. But what we have to realize is that there are already millions of people using iGoogle. And they're using iGoogle and they're seeing it as their homepage. And if you want to drive traffic to your website, having eye candy on iGoogle that people can see, that encourages them to click, that's going to drive them back. In all honesty, this iGoogle, this homepage is really my homepage. And I really do come here and look at these Metacritic gadgets most days because I'm sad and I play too many computer games. But rather than going to the web and searching for video game review, UK release dates, anything like that, I have this one-stop shop, and it means that I'm being driven back to Metacritic. So if you can provide content that's really useful for users, you're going to encourage them to be driven back to your site. It's just creating that stickiness.
How often do you change your homepage? I see that study, if some new site comes into life, how do you convince people to add your gadget? Because they will mess many gadgets there, and they will probably not change it for your opinion.
Sure. So how often do I change my homepage? Me personally, this homepage I don't change very often, but I'm always playing with my other tabs. But you've got to remember that, Eric said in the keynote, more and more people are coming online every day. And there are going to be new users, and new users don't have these habits yet. There are probably many better sites than Metacritic that do video games reviews. I just can't be bothered to look for them now because I'm set in my ways. I'm actually kind of old and boring now. I'm like, oh, click, it's there. But there are people who do still search. There are people who don't know about iGoogle. So simply by putting the Add to iGoogle button next to features on your website, people will click that and go, oh, what's that? Click, oh, wow, Google have a homepage. Well, I'm going to sign up for that and your gadgets at the same time. So it's kind of a win for us and a win for you. But it's about driving new users as much as anything. I mean, there's 1.something billion people connected to the internet, and there's only tens of millions of iGoogle users. There's a lot of opportunity for growth. Video. Everyone probably has some interesting video content. There's a couple of ways that we can surface video results in Google. One is specific links to sites. In this case, this is one video on YouTube. The other is what we call a one box. And this is where we provide multiple bits of content from different silos of information. If I switch back to my search for goats, you'll see that we've got news one box, we've got image one box, video one box, subscribe links, and maybe down at the bottom sometimes, no, not today, blog one box. But we'll surface different content in different ways, and you're probably looking at this if you're near the front going, yeah, but all these are YouTube, why is it always YouTube? They're not always YouTube. Apparently YouTube's just popular for goat videos. But if you search for, say, Porsche videos, you'll see MetaCafe, you'll see streetfire.net, you'll see rever.com, another MetaCafe. There's only a couple of YouTube videos and results of 6 there. So we really want to surface the content that's most relevant to the users. We're not that fussed about driving people to our own sites. If you've got video content, you should upload it to as many services as possible, not just YouTube. Upload it to MetaCafe, upload it to Rever, put it in these places. Because generally, video site users tend to be quite tribal. You know, if they go to YouTube, they'll go to YouTube. If they go to Rever or Dailymotion, that's where they'll go to absorb their content. So make it available to all these different users. If you're actually hosting video content on your own website, we've got something called video sitemaps. Marcel, are you going to be talking about sitemaps? Video sitemaps? Ah, no? A bit. Okay, so he's going to talk about it a bit more. But fundamentally, you can tell us about your videos. You can tell us where they're located. You can tell us, you know, how many views they had when they're published, and a bunch of other metadata which will help us surface them appropriately. We can't guarantee they'll get in the index, but we can guarantee that we'll go and have a look at them. Why would you want to do this? Why would you want to surface videos? Well, how many people know Monty Python? Is that pretty common over here? Okay, that's good. Yeah, they seem to be a kind of global phenomenon. For those of you who don't know, it was a UK, or John Cleese and a bunch of other UK comedians got together and just made some incredibly surreal comedy a few years back. Now, one of the things that started popping up on YouTube was a lot of Monty Python content. People would upload it, you know, they'd buy the DVD or they'd record something off TV, they'd make a really low quality copy, they'd put it on YouTube. And it would get, you know, 500,000, 1 million, sometimes 2 million views. Now, the Monty Python guys saw this, and they had one of two options. They could either, you know, go berserk and try to sue us and take everything down and chase the users who'd uploaded it and sue them and go nuts. Or what they could do is create their own channel, search for the most popular content that people were watching, and then upload video from their own vaults in high quality. And guess what they chose to do? They chose the second one. And all they put in the YouTube description was a link to the DVD that it was from on Amazon. Now, lots of people think, well, no one really reads that information. No one really clicks on it. No one's going to notice that. Monty Python's sales went up 23,000% in the first week. You know? And they're still looking for content that becomes popular. And as unverified, you know, clips that they haven't uploaded start to surface, they'll upload their own high-quality version. And they'll have good metadata around it. They'll tag it properly. And they'll just put a link to Amazon. And they're driving sales. And they couldn't be happier. They've actually got a video that talks about it for 2 or 3 minutes on YouTube if you want to go and read it, if you want to go and watch it. But it's really, really clever. I thought that people simply wouldn't click on those links on YouTube, but it turns out they really do. So you can put stuff onto video sites. You can put links back to your website where people can actually enjoy this content embedded on your site, surrounded perhaps by your ads, surrounded perhaps by your additional content. And that's how you can drive additional traffic using video. You know, people do spend time on YouTube, but they also, you know, we have a great embedding facility, so take advantage of it. Social. Are there any questions about video before we move on? It's pretty straightforward, right? Just upload it, embed it, good. Okay. Social's everywhere, and it's actually been, how are we doing for time? Ooh, okay, 8 minutes, I'm going to tear through this. Social's been everywhere. Social's everywhere, it's been everywhere for a long time. Newspapers, things like most read, most commented, that's a form of social ranking. It's other people saying what's interesting on the web. Amazon, I've touched on this already, but customers who bought this also bought this. You know, that's another form of social ranking. Look at what users are doing, tell other users about it. Forrester did a very interesting report called The 5 Eras of the Social Web. I'll tear through these, but the first one, social relationships, signing up for social networks. The second one, social functionality. This is where the social network becomes a platform. Facebook did this best. Chris Chabot is talking next door right now about social. If you want to learn more about this, go collar him. But social colonization is where it starts to become interesting. This is the idea that you can log into a third-party website using your social ID. So things like Facebook Connect, Google Friend Connect allow you to take your Facebook username or your Google or Yahoo or AOL username and actually log into a site. It's good for me as a user because I'm not having to register. More importantly, it's good for you guys as site owners because you're not getting users who lie on registration forms. I don't know if it's true in Prague, but certainly even in the UK, we get a ridiculous amount of users registering from Schenectady or Beverly Hills. Why is that? Because the zip codes are 12345 and 90210. And that's what people put in. When they're asked for a zip code, they just put in the first thing that comes to their head. They don't want you to know who they are. If you let them log in with a Google account, if you let them log in with a Facebook account, Yahoo account, whatever it might be, you're actually getting valid information about who they are. More so when it's a social network, because they've had to make friends, and that actually validates them. Social context is interesting too. That allows them to actually bring their friends with them and start to send information back to their social network. And finally, there's something called social commerce, and this is where it starts to get really interesting. This is the idea that instead of building content for the web, instead of kind of building products and services for users and saying, oh, now we've got a market, you look to see what people want and then deliver a product to that group. Groupon, well, okay, first of all, the Forrester report says that this stuff's happening now. So you want to be experimenting with things like Google Friend Connect, with things like Facebook Connect right now. It's okay to experiment, test stuff out, make small iterations and see what the results are like. There's a site called Groupon, and it's coupons for groups. The idea is they have a different offer every day. They'll ring up, in this case, a restaurant, and they'll say, well, okay, if we can get 250 people to buy this product, will you give us a 33% discount? And the company goes, yes. They put it on the website. People go here, they sign up, they pay for it, and only when they hit the threshold, in this case 250, is everyone charged and it goes through. If by the end of the day enough people haven't bought it, it's off. No one gets charged, no one's lost, except maybe the company who didn't make the sale. And they'll have a new offer every day. There's a lot of different types of this, but they've been quite clever because they make it easy for you to share this information back on your social network. Chances are if you're buying something, your friends might be interested in it too. So share this link on Facebook, post on Twitter, post it on Orkut. So that's, we're really running short of time. I was going to do a live demo of Friend Connect, but again, search for Google Friend Connect. We've basically got a widget that lets you paste into your website as easily as a YouTube video, social elements. I'm going to show you, hopefully it won't be in German like it was last night. Brilliant, it's in Czech instead, even better. Here we go. Imagine that I've come to this website, that's log out, right? I've come to this website for the first time. There are 7,500 members and there are 2,700 critiques. Now, pretend that this is a product page rather than a mock-up site. I watch the video, I want to leave a comment, okay, that's great, but from 2,700 comments, that makes no sense to me. I don't know these people, I don't know if it's relevant. So what I can do is sign in. And you'll see I'm promoted with a bunch of different options to log in. Google, AOL, and Yahoo. Netlog, who are big in Europe, and then or any OpenID provider. I'm going to pick Google because that's the account I've got. I'm going to log in with my Gmail account. And that's it, I'm signed in. It's got my made-up name, Gerald Hibbert, and it's also got my friends that I've already made, either on Google or on other Friend Connect sites. And I can actually click on these guys and see what they've been up to, and it'll open up a little light box. David's one of our engineering directors. I can see the sites that he's joined. I'm having to guess that that was what this means. And I can see what activities he's been up to, what he's been doing. But more importantly, I can have a look at these critiques, and I can tick a button that says show only comments from my friends. And it goes down from 2,700 comments to 36. Now, these are kind of nonsense because it's just a test site, and so they're all like, hello, cool, wow, yeah. But you can see that if it were a real conversation, actually being able to cut down 2,500 comments just to a few is really powerful. You can also translate this stuff. So we have the translate gadget built right in. I don't even want to guess what some of these might be. I want to go with Albanian. I assume that's Albanian. But it'll try and work out what the original language was, and then convert it into the language that you've selected, and then it'll highlight the colors. So actually what we're trying to do is enable communication across languages too. Hi.
Can I ask why it's in Czech?
Because I think this site is using the IP to sniff the language of the user. If I have a look, there are other examples, ossamples.com, where we should see that it's still in Czech. Brilliant. OK, I'm going to email the product manager and find out what's going on there. It should actually look at my settings and log me in with the language. But we just did a new launch a few days ago, so it might be that there's still a bit of weirdness in there. Finally, Blogger. Fortunately, we've only got 2 slides here, so we're almost done. Blogs are pretty old school, right? And you've got to work pretty hard to make them popular. You've seen that my blog, if you were here right at the beginning, gets 2 users, me and my mum. But I still write it, and I'm hopeful that one day I might get up to 3 or even 4 visitors. But you can actually drive a lot of traffic. And you'll see that we have Google blog posts as well, blended directly into search results. So where we find blog results that are particularly relevant to a search term, we'll actually surface results from relevant blogs that we find. I use Blogger because it's free, but there are lots of other great platforms out there. If you don't have one already, go to blogger.com, hit create a blog, and that's it. You can just start publishing. There's some really nice features like shared hosting, so you can hack it off your own domain, hang it off your own domain. There are lots of templates that you can edit if you like playing around with CSS and HTML. And it's a really, really powerful platform. And I'm going to show you my blog really quickly, just to show some of the features that you can add in. I can have a map, so I can hook in Google Latitude. I can run ads to make a few pence. I can run Friend Connect down the side, and I can drop in a YouTube video bar here. And there's a whole bunch of other gadgets you can add into. And in fact, most Google gadgets you can drop into Blogger really easily. So you can really add and enrich content. You know, if this was a site that was about cars and I wanted to drop those Porsche videos in, I could do that really easily. And you can actually embed, you know, videos from YouTube too. I'm going to leave you with this because I find it hilarious. We'll skip ahead a little bit. So this is some French guys testing out a rocket in the field. That's the end of the rocket launcher there. It goes on a little bit too long. Nothing happens for ages. They're kind of chatting away and going, OK, yeah, let's launch it. It's worth the wait, I promise. See, brilliant, they run. I guess it didn't explode because they were able to upload the video. But sharing stuff like that on blogs is a really powerful way to get people to come back as well. The one bit of advice I'd give with blogs is regularity is more important than frequency. That is, if you only update once a week, update on the same day, because then people will know to come back every Monday or every Wednesday or whenever it is you post. Ideally, you want to be pushing content 2 or 3 times a week, because that's going to keep people coming back. I guess we've kind of run out of time, having started a bit late. So if there are any more questions, I guess I can take a couple now, but otherwise, come collar me in lunchtime or in one of the breaks. But if you want to run to the next session, I don't want to keep you too long. So thank you very much.